Welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Dave, and I got a couple of my esteemed colleagues sitting here with me.
More than a couple. Ryan.
I'm Ted.
I'm Nate.
Today we want to talk about 5th edition Magic. So,
Spell.
cast magic missile at the darkness. Sorry, folks, had to do it.
So spells. Obviously, there are some significant differences this time around versus other editions. What do we want to hit first?
Well, let's start off with the fact that, in 5th edition, they ported over ritual magic from 4th edition.
Okay.
Which was one of the things that I enjoyed about 4th. Ritual magic is essentially, if it's a prepared spell and you're a divine caster, you can then cast it without using a slot. It just takes longer. If you're an arcane caster or someone who uses, a spell book, you can basically go thumb through your spell book, find the one you need, and cast it. Again, it just takes longer.
And you don't even have to have it prepared, right?
You don't even have to have it prepared, no. So I think that's pretty sweet, and it really adds an element to the game that I've enjoyed from different novels, where where the heroes maybe cast ritual magic or.
This is going to take me some time, but.
Yeah, so in this way you don't have to clog up your memorized spells with those detect magics and comprehend languages and the utility spells.
The stuff that's not necessarily going to be handy for you when you're out adventuring or comes up in very rare circumstances.
It's those spells that are, you need it in a pinch, but not in a time crunch.
It can be that way, or you might need it in time crunch, and then you better have it. So there is still reasons to memorize as a standard spell,
right?
But it's just nice that you had that extra. Okay, I can do this as a ritual, and I just thematically I like it.
I absolutely agree with you.
Cantrips.
Cantrips.
I heart cantrips.
Cantripping.
Yeah, cantripping.
There's several bonuses with the cantrips. Not only one are they an at-will ability, but like elves and half-elves just get one racially. So
half-elves.
Everybody has, every elven thing gets the ability to just be like, all right, I'm going to start being a spell slinger.
Are you sure half elves get them?
Thought they did.
Wood elves don't.
No, high elves get them.
I thought
Tiefling gets some stuff.
All right, well, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Definitely high elves.
If he's wrong, just crucify him in the comments.
Comments are below. But cantrips are awesome because they're at will and they're scalable. So you've got the ability that let's just take the basic high damaging firebolt. It does a D10, and when you get to 5th level, it does 2D10. And it just keeps going until you get to 20th, all the way up to 5D10.
Right. It's useful at 1st level, and it's also useful at 5th level, say,
right.
Something like that. So they don't stop being useful at a certain point.
Mm-hmm. But on the other side of that, your regular spells do not scale.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. You want a better spell, you have to pay for it with a higher spell slot, which is kind of interesting in some ways, like the cleric. The fact that you can cast cure spells. And it's just cure wounds now, and there are no different variations.
Yeah, when I was looking through the spell list, I was shocked. I saw cure wounds. I'm like, all right, well, where's cure light, cure moderate? None of it. It's there, So you only have to prepare that one spell. You don't have to junk your table up with or your prepared list with all these variety of different spells. You just use whatever spell slot that you want, and it's just a die 8 per.
Which is nice. I mean, you have the spell on hand, and you upscale it as you need it.
Right. Well, I mean, and also too, like when you're talking about like the book layout, it just was like clogging the book, like having 4 different versions of the cure spell or 4 different versions of the inflict spell.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like usually there's a line that says refer to the other version of it anyway. It just ups the amount of dice.
Right.
So it cleans it up a little bit.
I agree.
Well, yeah, if you think about it, over the course of the whole book, when you have several spells like that,
right, greater, lesser, whatever.
Instead it's just one paragraph attached to the one spell going, hey, if you use X slot or above, it does X. For every spell level above, add an extra die damage or whatever it is.
Whatever it's scalable is.
Because they're not all the same.
Right.
There's some variants. Some of them are.
Some of them are every 2 levels. Some of them are every level. I don't believe I read any that are every 3, but it's possible. For some of the lower level that have a bizarre effect. I don't know if you're the one with the player's handbook.
Right.
How much of the spells did you read there? Are there any that are every 3?
It's not a set. It's not set up that way. It reads, every level add a damage die, or for 4th level or above, or for 6th level above, X. Then that's how the layout is.
Okay.
It's concise. It's easy to read. It's easy to understand.
Yes.
So as far as cantrips, gotta say a personal favorite, freaking Ray of Frost. That thing, it does recyclable damage at D8 for a low-level caster,
but
and it slows them down by 10 feet. So that's nice. You just,
for a round, but it's still, if somebody's way over there, it's like, all right, well, boom.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you can't get
Well,
to
I mean, it gives for a cantrip, it gives you a little aspect of being a little controller.
Well, all of the different, razor bolts that are cantrips all have, some kind of side effect. The firebolt does the most amount of damage, but then the other ones all add some kind of...
I think it also ignites things.
Yeah, you can set combustibles. No, combustible stuff they're not wearing, I think you can set on fire.
Right.
Also, like Shocking Grasp, I like it as a cantrip. It's pretty cool. And if they're wearing metal armor, your attack is with advantage.
Oh, nice.
Sweet. So since we're talking about attacking things, right? Now when you use spells, if you're a caster, you're automatically proficient in using spells, which makes sense. So you get your proficiency bonus to hit.
Always lovely.
And you then get your stat bonus based on whatever spellcasting stat you use.
Right.
So that puts you exactly on par with the fighter as far as being able to hit stuff with your chosen vocation.
That's a lovely thing.
And now the other thing we have is, so I had to look this up because I couldn't remember what it was called, the Vancian magic system, which is what D&D magic has been based off of since the very beginning. And that's always been, you prepare X amount of spells, you memorize X amount of spells from your spell book, and that's what you can do. I think it pertains mostly to the arcane caster, the wizard, where you have a spell book and you have to imprint the spells
into
your brain. And, each imprint is for one specific spell. So if it's Magic Missile 3 times, you kind of have to, photocopy it to your brain 3 times.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, that they've changed that. It's kind of a thing of the past now. What do you guys think of how they do it now?
I love it. I love the ability that it's like, all right, I prepared Magic Missile and I prepared Shield. So do I want to either deal damage or do I want to not take damage? And you can decide at the moment of combat, at the time that you might need one of them, which one are you going to cast?
It's really almost like, sorcerers from 3rd edition.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I'm curious, because you're the only one with the PHB at the table here, what they've done to sorcerers, as far as to make them stand out separate and apart.
Naughty, bad things.
Yeah.
No.
Inappropriate things.
Well, although, we're not talking about sorcerers, we're talking about magic, but they have done some really cool things, you just need to read the Wild Mage, and you're like, the sorcerers just have more flexibility in what they can do. They have the spell point pool, which they can use to auto their spells. But then they can also swap out their spell slots to increase the pool to auto their spells.
Huh.
So it actually flows back and forth both ways.
Huh.
And then depending on, they kind of borrowed this from Pathfinder, I think. Depending on your bloodline or where you get your power from, that gives you different abilities as well. So the sorcerer definitely feels different than the wizard. You're not.
Oh, that's good.
There isn't a lot of crossover other than they can cast a lot of the same kind of spells.
Because I know when I looked through the wizard, when we first downloaded the PDF, I was like, well, this seems very sorcerer-like. Is this going to? Are they going to get rid of? And then we got the news that sorcerers in the PHB. So I was like, well,
Yeah, I love the wild magic sorcerer, and the fact that 1st level you have the ability to perform a TPK on your own party.
Right. It's one of your first loves is killing potentially killing your own party.
You could ready an action to do that.
Yes, you can with a series of bad rolls.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about readying a spell. That's something that while it could be done in earlier editions, it definitely flows a lot better now. What do you guys think?
I like it. I like it a lot.
There you go. All right,
there you
let's
go.
move
Next.
on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what? So you could ready, like, if another caster was getting ready to cast a spell, you could say, I'm going to ready Magic Missile when he starts casting, shoot them, so they have to make their concentration check. So now, like, you can do the same thing. It just sets out parameters.
You set up a trigger.
Right.
You know, I'm going to wait until this guy starts charging me, and what you wind up doing is you're using that section or that action. You're saving that until later,
right?
But you don't lose. You don't wind up losing anything. Whereas in earlier editions, you know, especially 3.5, you know, when that round ticked over,
it was a complete reset.
It was a complete reset. Whereas now, it's not.
Well, technically, you did lose it. Like, you can move and like ready your casting or whatever to go off. But actually, what it does do is it burns your reaction in the next round, like, because you only get one reaction a round, one bonus action a round, and one regular action a round. So if a set of circumstances happens that would have made you want to take 2 reactions in the round, well, you've already cast that readied spell, so thus there goes your reaction. Also, when whatever you say is going to set up your ready action, when that occurs, you have the choice of opting to not do the thing that you said you were going to do, too. You could just choose. In that case, you do kind of lose your action from the last round. I mean, in that instance.
Well, yes, if you choose to give it up, you're taking that choice.
Right.
Whereas in 3.5, when the last person ticked, anything that you didn't do that round is gone.
Yeah.
You know,
it bleeds over to the following round, but I don't think it lasts longer than that.
Yeah.
But it's still, I mean, you still get the 2 rounds on it, which is cool. It gives you a bigger window. But since we're talking about, you know, using your reactionary action.
Well, you know, actually, so what I'm thinking, one of the things that could set up that where you have your ready action going on, it triggers during the next round with the reaction. Well, now, say if you wanted to cast a spell like Shield, which is also triggers as a reaction, you couldn't do that.
No, you couldn't.
Yeah, because you've already burned your reaction.
But you know, it's kind of cool. Like, say, like a human fighter or a human warrior is charging you from 30 feet away, and like your ready action is, well, if someone charges me, I hit them with Ray of Frost.
Yeah.
Dropping them to 20 feet of movement, and they're 30 feet away. They can't get to you.
Yeah. Right.
And then you use your move action to move backward, and you keep doing it.
Right. Yeah.
But, so actions, casting spells are either a reaction, a bonus action, an action, or longer than that. Okay, so we only need to really worry about the 3 right now. So as we discussed, you know, like your shield, you can use it as a reaction. Which, of course, if you do that, then, like, if an attack of opportunity comes up in the round, you can't use it because you burned it already.
Well, you're a caster anyway. Who wants to attack with a weapon? Don't dirty your hands with doing that, casters.
Oh, Warcaster feat. That allows you to use your spells. Your spells that require an attack, you can use them as an attack of opportunity.
Nice. Yeah, but you're trading a stat bump, so there is that.
There is that, but you get a lot of cool things out of the feat. So.
Yeah.
But you have spells that you can cast as a bonus action. Now, they have a special rule. The rule is you cannot cast a spell if you've already cast a spell as a bonus action.
Right.
So we can do our shield as a reaction, cast a spell as a bonus action, and then hit someone over the head with our axe.
Yeah.
If we wanted to.
As that dwarven soldier wizard.
So wait, is it specifically work out that if you already casted, so if you cast a bonus action, you can't cast the spell. But what if you did it the other way around? You cast the spell and then you do the bonus action, or is there just something?
No, it says you can't use a spell. Well, I think it's semantics, chicken or the egg, but pretty much you can't cast a spell as a bonus action and your regular action in the same round.
But you can use a reaction.
But you can use a reaction.
You know some of the spells that are considered bonus?
Off the top of my head, no, but the Paladin, this is actually very cool. The Paladin and the Ranger spells are they've done some things thematically that make them really cool. A lot of the Paladin spells are bonus actions, so that you can then attack in addition to using your thing, right, your spell. Well, a lot of the ranger action spells are actually a part of attack actions, where you don't actually make the attack roll, but like one of them's like barrage, right? You fire or throw a missile weapon. Well, that's the thematic component of the spell, so it creates like 100 of them, and then there's a set amount of damage for it.
Nice.
One of the ones is grasping vines for ranger. You hit them with a weapon, and once they get struck, they're then entangled by thorny vines.
Nice.
So I was really disappointed to see that wasn't a druid spell, but there's a lot of thematic stuff like that according to the class. Also, I think Bard has a few bonus spells. More so than the Wizard. The Wizard doesn't actually get that many of them, just a handful. There's only 2 reaction spells that I know of off the top of my head, and that's Featherfall and Shield. There's probably more than that. I haven't memorized them yet.
You haven't memorized the book yet?
Yeah, I know.
How dare you? You've had it for like 8 days.
I
9
know.
days.
You know what's worth mentioning too? The DCs.
Yeah, the lower arc. Yeah.
Now one of the big differences with that is most of your damaging spells it's saved for half, which I mean that's not that much of a departure, but I don't think there's any spells that are save or no. So even on a failed save, they usually take damage.
Well, so the thing to highlight there is that they've ramped up the damage dice, but the odds of your foe making a saving throw are a lot higher nowadays. So, or it's at least it seems like that.
Because start with DC.
Say a caster that's pretty optimal for his say they have a 16 stat, which among the new rule set that's it's pretty it's best you're gonna do, right? Yeah, for the most part. Their DC is like 13 on average, which that's pretty low if it's something that whoever is making the saving throw has proficiency in it, because they're getting a +2 and it's something that they should be pretty good at. So that's like they have like a +4 or whatever. It means they have a better than 50% chance to make that usually. Right. So that's the damage die is upped. If they fail, then that's really sweet because you've done a lot of damage. But the odds are they're probably going to pass.
So they're going to take half rather than
the full.
But here's something else to take into consideration, right? There is now 6 saving throw stats.
Yeah.
So as a spellcaster, you actually do have more of the ability to spread out.
What you're attacking.
What you're attacking. So there is that. And then it's only the stat. Against probably your 13. If you've been around for a while, you can bump it all the way up to a 15.
Yeah.
Because your max stat is a 20. No godlike stats.
Right.
All across the board for 5th edition, really, it looks like they really aimed with keeping the playability throughout the levels. Where in 3.x Acts of Pathfinder. At 20th level, your bonus for whatever it is probably starts at +20.
Right.
And where here, it's a +6.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's like, exactly. Say you're a fighter, if it's the thing you do, it should be, by their design aesthetic, it could be a +20. Say you're a fighter, then your 20th level fighter has a +20 to their base attack bonus, kind of thing.
Yeah. So the bonus has really got out of control in 3rd edition and Pathfinder, where 5th edition it's really been scaled back.
It's less mathy. Yeah.
It's very much less mathy. But I don't think it's less mathy to make you think less. I think it's less mathy in the sense that, hey, you know what? Orcs are going to challenge you at a much higher level than they did before. They're still a good monster at 1st level, but they're still a good monster at 10th level.
Yeah, there's not a chart to look at. Monsters are worth a certain XP.
Well, I mean, the CR system's in there, but if you look throughout, and now we're getting way off, Matt. Spells. But, all right, we're gonna go back to spells.
Yeah, right.
But
so getting back to spells, one of the other things that you can actually use that's different is the whole concentration effect. Spells in previous editions, you could just be like, all right, I'm just going to load up my battle mage with every possible spell that's out there. Now you wind up having a limitation because you can only have one spell that's a concentration up at a time, and they all have a duration.
Yeah, well, and that goes back to scaling back things, which, it's a little disappointing when you first look at it. But if you look at the long-term gameplay for your character and playing, I think it's actually a huge advantage to the players and the game master running the game. Because we've all run the game. We've all been the dungeon master, right? So we all know once those characters start getting up there that scaling everything is such a pain in the ass. Where now it's less of that. You don't have the uber armor classes.
Well, I mean, the thing was if the party knew that the encounter, they were setting the conditions to make the encounter happen themselves, not like they were ambushed or they walked into the enemy. They're going to the big bad fight or whatever, and it's just all the casters spend 6 to 10 rounds doing all the buffs, and it's just how challenging do I have to make this thing to make it not just a walkthrough when they've just given themselves a net of plus 30 between various stats or whatever. It's just well, what do I have to throw at them to make this remotely challenging?
So now when you're talking about layering for a wizard or a spellcaster, I mean really they've got a good 3 to 5 rounds and then they're done.
Right.
There's nothing left for them to cast.
You look at spells like haste, and I think they have to concentrate while that's going on. So and with the concentration thing. While they're concentrating on the spell, can they cast other spells, or
as long you just can't concentrate on another spell.
Right. Okay.
So if you were to cast another concentrate spell, you have to let the first one fizzle.
Right. It just
there's no need to cast the new one.
Right. So what they did do though is there are still spells with durations, straight up durations, Mage Armor has it, Mirror Image has it, Fire Shield has it. But then, you can't go haste, stone skin, and bull strength.
Right.
So they've definitely toned that aspect down.
It actually gives more viability because before it used to be if you have one wizard in the party, it's just there's no sense in having another wizard or whatever. Now it's a party with a wizard and a sorcerer, they're not as redundant. Because you could have one guy concentrating on the haste, getting the party going, and you could have another instance where, maybe the other guy's bull strengthening the party or whatever, so you can kind of spread it out and give them more things to do. Whereas before, it's just nope, we have one guy who's a one-stop shop for, everything the party could need,
Well, and that's exactly true. It does offer more viability for having multiple casters in your party.
Right, yeah.
More people to concentrate. And, and who knows, what they're gonna do to play with that element of the game. Is there maybe magic items that let you concentrate on more than one spell at a time, or maybe that ends up being a feat, that you can concentrate on 2 spells at a time, which would be a huge bonus.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Okay, so we're talking about spell casting, so we gotta mention familiars. Even though if you watched our Wizards video, we talk about this, but familiars went back to 1st edition. It's a spell, you cast it, X amount of time, X amount of gold, you get a familiar, you can see and hear through its senses, and it can deliver touch spells, but pretty much it's more thematic than anything.
It's a cute, cuddly animal that's easily squishable. Yeah.
Yes.
It doesn't just destroy your character and make him cry.
Yeah, if it dies. So, I like that, and, so in 3rd edition, you almost had to have a familiar. You couldn't be a wizard and not have one. Now, it's optional. You want one, you get one. If not, it's not a big deal. If you felt like spending 2 hours to summon one and 10 gold, hey, you went out and did it and you got a rabbit.
It was a cheap evening,
Yeah.
You summon a familiar, that's right. Good times.
So,
well, actually, since we've been talking a lot about, concentration spells and effects and things like that, I didn't do a lot of reading on this myself, but what is the circumstances for concentrating on a spell? How hard is it to maintain?
So basically, if you take damage while concentrating on a spell,
you're boned?
Close, but no. It's not. It's a con check, and it's DC 10 or half damage taken, whatever number's higher.
Okay.
So most of the time, especially in the lower levels, you're looking at a DC 10.
But hopefully you have a con mod to help you out on that.
But the great part about it is, if you fail, you have lost the spell, but not the spell slot.
Okay.
So I'm sitting here casting Magic Missile. The orc hits me. I fail my check. Well, I don't cast that spell this round. I've lost that action, but my spell slot is still open, so that next round I could back up and cast Magic Missile.
Right. So it's easier to lose the spell, but to lose that casting of the spell.
Right.
But yeah, you're still going to be able to use it eventually.
Yeah, I think that is the
it's handy. It's a good
that's
compromise.
the best thing, especially again going back to the low-level wizard and their issues. You hit a wizard at the just the right time, and poof, they just totally lost, their spell. Now, nope.
Especially, that sucks when you only have 2 spells you can cast for first level.
Right. Or 3 once you get that one extended rest throughout the day. But yeah, exactly.
But you only get to do that once.
Yeah. Or the short rest, I mean. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's that. You guys, anything you want to add about magic in this edition? Armor. You can wear armor if you can cast spells. As long as you're proficient with the armor, you can slather it on and it does not affect you. You cannot cast in armor if you're not proficient in it, and it's just bad to wear armor if you're not proficient in it anyway.
It's a bad day.
You suck at everything.
You're going to have a bad time.
Plus some other things.
Disadvantage in combat and all kinds of craziness.
Well, you're only disadvantaged at pretty much every physical check you would make. But other than that, there's no problems.
Great.
All right, yeah.
So no disadvantage on talking.
Sign me up.
I used the right word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot better that you just have to be proficient in the armor usage rather than having to take a feat to be able to wear a simple armor and then another feat to do the medium and then another feat to do.
Yeah, it was a big investment for a wizard.
Yeah.
Like, you basically may as well just dip the level into fighter for all that.
Yeah.
Because you get all the proficiencies that you would want and then a feat to use. You're talking about 3rd edition design, but...
Yeah, but even then, you put the armor on, you still had the chance.
Well,
to
then there's a spell failure. But
Oh, yeah,
you're gonna get that anyway.
Reduction of the spell failure is really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, to have it go away.
Well, you know what's nice about it is we've all read books with the wizard, the war wizard that uses weapons and wears armor and casts spells. But in no edition of the game could you really make that character and be optimal.
And yet now we do.
And now we do. Because, I've never read a book where that character was in there and his spell fizzled because he was wearing armor. And he's like, God damn it, I hate when that happens.
Yeah, although it's rare that, the hero's critical fumble in the books either. But, there is what happens at the table. Yeah.
Sometimes.
It happens out there every once in a while.
So, all in all, how do you guys like Magic in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons?
I think it's a good improvement.
I think it gets a big thumbs up. They've as I've said with all the other videos, they've taken the best of all the previous editions and pushed it into a really good product.
Yeah, I mean, I've only gotten to play a couple of sessions of the basic set pre-gen wizard.
You are playing a wizard.
Yeah, I am playing the wizard in that. Let's see. I've only, other than the awesome cantrip of Ray of Frost, because limited resources, I only get 3 spells per day. I think I've only cast Burning Hands, Shield, and Sleep.
Nice.
But what else do you need, right? I mean, it's like Sleep.
Is your wizard still 1st level?
He's 2nd level now, so we'll have some more casting.
Have you had to play him as the 2nd level?
You know what? I did. So it was just another casting of the spells. But, basically, I had to save my ass with a shield spell. And, you know what? I got to do Thunderwave. And Thunderwave is a great 1st level spell.
It's fun. It sounds cool,
Well, you got to use Thunderwave.
I did get to use it. And clear a room with Thunderwave.
Yeah. The pushback thing is kind of cool. Kind of makes me wish that, that force movement did provoke attacks of opportunity, because, tactically, it would make it a little more interesting. Like, when you Thunderwave people away, that, the party member would get to take a swipe
Let
at
me
them.
tell you something.
Yeah.
After 4th edition, they were not going to make anything seem that tactical ever again.
Yeah, that's true.
and you notice, even though there is a lot of controller-ish type spells in this edition of Dungeons & Dragons, no way do they ever mention anything about a square. They give it to you in increments of feet.
That's right.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Just like they did in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd edition.
Yeah, but, throwing dudes 10 feet away from you with a spell and dealing respectable damage is pretty cool. I think the one time I got to cast Thunderwave, I rolled double 1s, so not cool. 2
bummer.
points of damage, but I did get to do the loud thunderclap that happens because you can hear thunder wave from 300 feet away.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
Well, you know, when I did it, it kind of made me feel like Gandalf. When you know, when he's like, "You shall not pass," on the bridge with the Balrog, you know, because you know, my poor wizard didn't actually have enough money for a spell component pouch, so I had to settle for an arcane casting increment. I took the rod, you know, so as part of the thing, I'm like, well, you know, I like to describe what I'm doing, so I made up a word in Dwarvish for back, and you know, describe my dwarf slamming his rod on the ground, and then it goes off, and it drops most of the people it hits and pushes them all back 10 feet. You know, it feels impressive as a first level spell anyway. I like
your utilization of it was way cooler than
here
the time.
wearing a Hulk t-shirt, and you're going to describe Gandalf as opposed to the...
Well, yeah, I guess so, but that, you know, I don't know, it's quite the same level. That's Thunderwave as cast as a 9th level spell.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't insult the Hulk like that.
I'm just noticing a very bizarre circumstance.
Gotcha.
But, yeah, Hulk's a great wizard for having an 8 intelligence.
Which brings us back into 5th edition. You can do that.
Yeah.
Previously, you had to have at least an 11.
You needed to have 11 to cast a first level spell, and you know, if you didn't keep bumping that intelligence, you weren't gonna be able to progress.
And now you can. You just may not be very good at it.
Right.
But you know, you would have access to all the spells.
Yeah. And you know, that kind of harkens back to some of the 2nd edition stuff. I don't know how well you guys remember, but we used to, you know, do the campaigns where you say, I want to play this, and then you roll your stats, and they were, you know, leave them where they lie. And if you didn't have the stat to pull it off, oh well.
You had to play something else.
You know, so I mean, one of my favorite characters of all time was a fighter cleric with an 18 intelligence, because we had a campaign that was just you leave the stats where you're rolling. You roll your strength, your dex, your con, all in order. And it's like, all right, this guy is so suboptimal for the fighter cleric. It's ridiculous.
Well, you know, that's playing against type, which can always be fun.
Oh.
And, you know, with this edition, I think it's a lot easier to do that.
Right.
Whether you're talking magic or some other character type. And also, like, you know, I'm going to get way off topic here, so I'm going to bring it right back to magic. You guys got anything else you want to say on magic? We'll save that other stuff for another video.
Save that for the sequel.
Yeah.
I think we're good as far as our limited experiences of playing 5e to date.
I think it's all good stuff. You know, a couple days for me, and I'll be able to pour over my my player's handbook.
So with that, you guys can keep the magic happening in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons.
Click like, subscribe, comment even. Below.
You can find us at nerdarchy.com or
all the other social media
Facebook,
stuff, Twitter,
whatever.
Pinterest. That's right.
Wherever you want to go searching for us, we're probably there.
We're very stalkable. That's for sure.
So with that, my friends, until next time, stay nerdy.